owned by Rupert Murdoch in the UK. A newspaper is the product of a whole lot of fine minds in journalism, great editors, very experienced, picking at a certain point in time what they think the most important news stories of the day might be. And unlike online, where you can just go on and on and on and on, and you're never quite sure whether you've got to the middle or the end, at least with a newspaper, that's it. You can go from page 1 to page 26 and know that you've covered what they think are the most important things that you should know about in the last 24 hours. So there is that lovely order in a newspaper. And what we're finding at the FT is that people don't want to read newspapers Monday to Friday. But strangely, our weekend FT offering, which has got magazines and lots of culture and fashion and art and travel, that content people like to lean back. Rather than lean forward on their phone, they're leaning back and enjoying that. That is a mark of relaxation, and it says the weekend has started for me. So that's how we're seeing newspapers being consumed. And they're bloody expensive because, especially with supply chain issues right now, the cost of freight is hideous. The cost of paper is rising, and of course there's less and less of it, especially pink paper, and the cost of the ink itself is going up. So every single component of the newspaper environment is just going up and up and up, even before we were experiencing the shocking inflation levels that we're having right now. But yes, I think there is a place for the newspaper. It's just it's becoming more rarefied, more expensive, and to be quite frank, for us, I love having the pink newspaper for a reason of marketing as well. You walk around with a pink newspaper under your arm, people say, oh, they're an FT reader. One person that, someone that talked to me when I was going for a job, in my first job as a graduate cadet for the Australian Financial Review in Sydney, said, make sure you've got a copy of the FT sticking out of your bag. I said, you can get them down at this particular hotel, so because that'll say that you're a serious person. So I say that to people, right? Put a copy of the FT in your handbag and have it sticking out so it looks like you're a serious, if somewhat old-fashioned person. Jonathan, what do you think?
Well, of course, we know one of the problems for people writing spy novels is that the classic scene in a spy novel is identifying a contact, nearly always carrying a newspaper. I mean, you can't imagine, you know, in a John le Carré novel, somebody saying, oh, I'll be carrying an iPhone 13. You know, that's not really going to help, is it? Of course, I work for the BBC, and we never did print and newspapers, but on that, in the same vein, we have traditional news programs, like our biggest news bulletin is called the 10 o'clock news, and the demographic is definitely old, but it's still big. So the BBC is sticking with that, although it's a resource-heavy, expensive program to produce, because we still have an audience, and we owe that audience, and they still like it. I would say, Irene, also, you ought to be perhaps encouraged a bit. If you walk around Bangkok in recent years, you'll find, you know, people of much younger generation carrying old-fashioned film cameras because they can't come back into fashion, because people want something that's analog and different from the digital experience. People are listening to music on vinyl. Maybe, you know, there will always be a niche for a physical form in which you can read news. Magazines will always be, there's a sort of tactile quality. And even now, for the BBC, for example, our website, people care a lot about how they organize that and arrange it just in the way that people used to do, and still do layout on the front page of a paper. How you present the big range of information you have on any news site, the art of that has not been lost because it's still very important. I get that once you're down to the size of a mobile phone screen, then there's not a lot of possibilities. I would say for the FT app is one of the best designed apps there is out there for news. It's brilliant, and it's far more efficient than reading the paper. And you know, I've been reading FT on the app for a very long time, and frankly find it an improvement.
Oh, I love talking to subscribers, lovely, lovely subscribers. You were going to say something.
Oh no, I just wanted to say the FT app is great. The New York Times also has a great app where it approximates the newspaper. And it's great because you can zoom in. You don't need a magnifying glass like my grandfather read it.
Exactly. What is happening with the newspaper industry in Thailand? I still see lots of newspapers, but how are people consuming their news here?
I think it depends on the generation. Like, for example, like baby boom days. For example, like my mom still read the newspaper, but actually like she try to learn the new technology as well. So currently I give her the iPad, and she said that, oh, actually like, okay, I love the newspaper, but sometimes when she want to maybe like hang out with her friends, she just carry the iPad. So I think that right now it's not, in terms of the generation, it's quite blur. We can, for me as well, I love newspaper sometimes when I read it on the airplane or maybe like traveling. Because as you mentioned, like sometimes when, for example, like I carry like Harvard Business Review, HBR, oh, it look like, it make me like feel like the content inside is I can use like a pen to highlight the part that I want to try to remember, but it's not easy for the iPad version or the computer version. So actually, like I still love to read the paper format as well. So it's like a combination between the digital device and also the paper as well.
Yeah, I mean, the newspaper can be very, very useful anyway. I'll tell you a strange story. Our editor many years ago was in the UK, and he was invited to dinner at Kensington Palace, which is where Prince Charles and the late Princess Diana used to live. And they always had 2 copies of the Financial Times delivered every day to Kensington Palace. And so this was a ball. This is so old-fashioned, isn't it, this kind of story? But it was a ball, and our editor was dancing with Princess Diana, probably very badly, but he was dancing and trying to think of something to say to this young woman. And he said, so, Your Highness, I hear that you have a couple of copies of the FT delivered every day. Are you watching your share performance? You know, what are you finding very interesting about the FT? What do you read? And she said, oh, I don't read it at all, but it's exactly the size of the hamster cage. So she was lining the hamster, or not she, but the butler was probably lining the hamster cage with copies of the FT. Anyway, so that was a humbling thing for our editor all those years ago. Do we have any more questions? Surely we do. This is a topic that touches all our lives. Ah, there's one there. Can you say who you are, please?
Good morning. My name's Ali, and I'm from Thammasat University. Thank you for the new introduction and everything. It's been really interesting. So my question is, you know, there's the existing big data and also like news applications offering algorithms that reads through your findings and introduce you news that's more to your likings. Then may I ask, ethically, what's the fine line between, you know, having your privacy and fine line for publication to stay in business?
We couldn't hear it that well. Could you just say that again?
Yes, so my question is, you know, there's big data existing and also news publication going through your reading preferences using algorithms. So what's the fine line between having your privacy when reading news and, you know, it's for businesses like publications to stay in business because they need to know what's your preference, what's your reading. So yeah, that's my question.
So privacy versus service. Yeah, what do you think, Francesca? Must have done a topic on this at Columbia.
Well, yes. I do a lot of searching, especially like when I'm researching something controversial like QAnon on incognito mode. because I don't want, I know what happens with algorithms, and I don't want that to reflect in my recommended content. And with Nikkei Asia, like you go on a news website or any website, and they ask you if you want to allow the cookies, right? Some people, because they want to go quickly and read the content, they will just accept the cookies. But most of the time, you can customize what data is tracked from your search traffic, what content you tend to consume. So I definitely recommend going in there and, understanding what the cookies are for the websites that you frequent and customize it according to what you're comfortable with. I also tell people this with their iPhone microphones. It's very tedious, but just as a public service announcement, go into every app and turn off the microphone so they don't overhear your conversations and it affects your search results.
That's so spooky, isn't it? Mimi, what do you think?
Yes, for this case, actually, like in terms of the technology side, we call, some people have already developed the solution like we call the Web3, right now, Web 3.0, which is the new era of the web generation. So before we start the Web 3, actually, as as her mentioned before that, normally, currently, like in Thai, we also have the PDPA, the data privacy that we have to get approval from the individual first before before the brand or even the publisher as well to gather the data. But in the future, like in the Web 3, based on the blockchain technology, right now, all of the users will have their own data. The data will not be like gathered or collected by the big player like Facebook or like the TikTok, and they monetize by themselves. But in the future, like all of us can control the data by ourselves. And if we want to exchange the data to the publisher or to the platform, that means the platform have not just only asked the privacy, but at the same time, the user can also earn the money as well. Right. And also that means all of the publisher and all of the platform have to compete each other to think about how to create what is the value proposition that they try to propose, because at that time when we are in the Web 3 era, the people can select by themselves. So they need to reconsider about the value proposition, how to define and trying to find the creative value to propose to the user.
Yep, that is so interesting.
I think also the easiest solution would be, if you don't want to be tracked on the internet, get a print subscription.
Yeah, thank you. No discounts though. Yes, another question.
Hi, my name is Sigrid and I come from Iceland. We had the Nobel Prize winners 2021, Maria Ressa and Dmitry Murakov, right? And they were laureated for free speech. And this is hugely important because we can tell the same lie in the Philippines and in Iceland in the same second on social media. So I wanted to ask you, what can we do to preserve free speech, which is the cornerstone of